in the spring of 22, I got a pattern to make peep bunnies, crocheted peep bunnies, and it took off like wildfire.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Bleep the Budget. I am your host, Senior Community Relations Specialist at Forefront Credit Union, Megan McDonald. Today on the show, we're talking about hobbies. So a lot of people start hobbies for maybe something to do that's a little relaxing. Maybe it ends up saving you a little bit of money in the end. Cool. But what happens when your hobby turns into a full-fledged business? To tell us all about that, we are joined today by the lovely Shayna Marsh. Welcome to the show, Shayna.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Well, Shayna is the ultimate hustler of all things crocheted goods. Yeah. She is the owner and founder of Yarn Over Hook, also known as Yo. And I just love saying that. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Well, Shayna, welcome to the show. We are super pumped to have you. I guess, just start off by telling us, how did you come up with Yarn Over Hook, or Yo?
Yeah. So really I started crocheting when I was about 12 years old. That's when the hobby started. My mom was a crocheter. I wanted to learn how to crochet.
Okay.
The craziest thing about that process was I'm a lefty. So everything I do is left-handed, but my mom is right-handed. So I crochet with my right hand, 100%. Everything else is left-handed. So
that is
kind of a weird fun fact.
Yeah.
But I crocheted as a hobby for years, and then even in college, I started to make some stuff to sell a little bit here and there. Took a break when I kind of entered the real world of adulthood and had kids, and then it all of a sudden was, I wanted a hobby for myself. I wanted to do something that I could make something and have something that was tangible, unlike cleaning your floors, and that lasts for 10 minutes?
Right. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't last long.
Yeah.
Dishes too.
Yeah, 100%. So that's kind of how it started. So in 2021, kind of after the world was opening back up, I started to do a couple small local shows. And at that time, I primarily had hats and scarves. I really didn't have any critters or clothes or anything like that. And then in the spring of 22, I got a pattern to make peep bunnies, crocheted peep bunnies, and it took off like wildfire.
Really?
I think I sold I made 50 of them in 2.5 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Locally, and I was like, oh, maybe I could do this. And it just kind of grew from there. And then I'm trying to think, in 22, in the summer, late summer, I officially got my LLC. And then about a year ago, I officially started my Etsy. So it's just slowly progressed from there.
Yeah.
But it's been just a great experience. It's so much fun to have a hobby and turn it into a little bit something more for yourself personally, and then also having a little bit of a financial income and boost from it is always a good thing too.
Heck yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. How did you come up with the name?
So my husband, who is in marketing.
We should probably mention her husband is my boss. So that's not why we have her on. She's awesome. But yeah, So
being that he had a marketing background, we kind of were throwing out different names and stuff. I kind of had a good idea of the color scheme I wanted, which is kind of like a orange and bluish teal color. Just something fun. And I wanted it to be different because you see so many people that are, Crocheted by Shayna or just very simple names. I wanted it to be something fun. And the Yo was very important in that we wanted to have that pop where people would refer to it as Yo and not the full name.
Right.
Which is cool.
That's awesome. So, Yo, and so did you guys end up creating the logo yourselves? Did Rob help you put that together?
So we did opt to hire someone to do that.
Okay.
So we did a, commission, kind of threw it out there, and everyone submitted from all over the place.
Oh.
And that was a process too, because it also proved that people had it stuck in their head of what a yarn business would be, right?
Sure.
So we had people submitting images with a cat and a ball of yarn, and it was like
Basic,
like,
yeah.
this is about being creative. This is about kind of being outside the box, trying to make things that you don't see a lot of other people making. So I think I got a lot of pushback. It took a while. It really took a while to find something that we really wanted, but ultimately we did go with a company and were able to hire the logo and do it that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's got to take a little bit of, obviously it was a process, like you said, but that takes a little bit of weight off your shoulders to have someone else do that.
For sure.
What is the cost? I don't even know of like getting a logo made like that. I should know because I'm in marketing, but that's what Rob does.
Yeah. I think at the time, I want to say we paid a couple $100s for it. There was obviously tiers involved. So we actually opted to get a few different variations of the logo. There is technically a crochet hook in one of the logos that's got like a yarn around it, but it's very subtle. So I have that. And then I have just yo without that. So it was definitely a tier, which you can decide after the moment. Like you don't have to make that decision up front when you decide to explore something like that.
So what is the market like for crocheted goods besides Peeps bunnies?
Yeah.
Which sounds like maybe this year's a busy time for stuff like that. What is there a huge market then for crocheted goods?
So I think there obviously was a huge fad of crochet, especially amongst the younger young adults, starting a few years ago, where you saw a lot of young adults starting to crochet, starting to do stuff, selling stuff. So there was a couple years that I was going to markets where maybe there was 120 vendors and 10 were crochet, and that was quite a bit, especially with animals, if you're making things. We're starting to see a little bit of a dip in that too. People really love, again, the uniqueness of it. I think I do well at these shows because I'm not just making one-off thing, like just bumblebees or just this. My stuff has a little bit of uniqueness and personality. It makes people laugh, brings people in, things that are funny.
Yes.
And that's big too.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think I saw at your last show you posted pickles. Did you have pickles on there?
I brought a giant pickle with me today too.
I can't wait to see the giant pickle. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you do have a ton of unique stuff. Actually, I should bring out, I don't know if you brought any other mermaids with you, but
No other mermaids today, but
I just got this cute little thing from Shayna. It's for my daughter's Easter basket, and we have like a coastal themed nursery. So very excited about our sweet little mermaid here with the fun hair. So yeah, you do. You make super fun, unique stuff, which I think is so important.
Yeah.
And you've obviously maintained that all these last couple of years then.
Yeah, I've definitely developed and grown. There's certainly things that I made at the beginning that I don't make as much of anymore as we see fads come and go and different things like that.
I was just going to ask that. Are you following trends and fads?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just don't have any in stock right now, but for a while, like axolotls, right, were like a huge thing. All the little kids wanted axolotls. So I had a simplistic design for that did well for quite a while. And then we started to see a dip in that. And, we started to see more of like the funny food and stuff like that. So can I make everything? Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I'll get a bug to make something I haven't made in a while. But I try to grow with the market the best I can.
What's the funniest, weirdest, oddest request you've ever gotten to make something?
Yeah. I don't know if it's really the funniest. It was definitely the most challenging. So going back again to these Peep bunnies, which I didn't bring one with me today, but I had someone reach out to me, the mom of a kid that I went to high school with, and she wanted like 3-foot tall crocheted Peep bunnies for her windows in the front of her house. And I was like, okay, let me think, because that was totally unique and trying to write a pattern almost as you go.
Yeah.
To get the size and the proportions right and everything like that. So I was able to make them. I made 3 of them. They weigh like 9 pounds a piece when all said and done.
Oh my goodness. It's a newborn baby.
Yeah. I mean, and you think like yarn's not super heavy.
No.
So, I mean, the ounces of yarn or the skeins of yarn are like 10 ounces a piece.
Okay.
And then you have stuffing, and I did have to put a weight in them so they stood up.
Sure.
But it was really challenging. It was a cool project. But the really cool thing is you can actually see these peeps in town on 6th Street in this big house. It's in a big brick house on the corner, one of the corners of 6th Street this time of year.
Okay.
You can see these giant peeps in the window, which is just
so
kind
cool.
of fun because occasionally I'll have someone text and say, hey, I saw the peeps today. And
Yeah.
that was just a cool project.
I got to run an errand on my lunch break today, so I might go drive by.
Yeah.
That's
for sure.
awesome. So cool. Okay, so you worked with a company to create your logo. Did you have to come up with a website as well, or do you do most of your stuff through social channels and then your Etsy?
So I do have a website, which at this point in time, I don't use it a ton. It mainly filters in all of my social media
Okay.
to kind of, we had talked about doing a website with actually being able to purchase and have product. But the thing that's a little bit different about what I do is everything is so unique.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily make the same things all the time, or even if I make 2 mermaids and even if the color is the same color scheme, it's going to look different.
Sure.
It's just always going to look a little bit unique. So what we came to find is that I was better off posting an individual item on Etsy, and then what you see is what you get. And that was really important to me because I want to be transparent in what people get.
Yeah.
So I make cows, I make different things. Sometimes their spots are in different spots. I just wanted to make sure that that was 100% accurate.
Right.
So I have a website. Again, it uploads all of my social media posts because I do a lot of posting. My main thing that I post on is Instagram, and then from there it feeds into Facebook and other places. But for me, that just wasn't, the Etsy was the better way for me to go.
Sure. Yeah. Was there a cost to having a website for you then?
That's where my marketing guy comes in, because that was something he did. I believe there was an initial cost to buy the URL for it or something like that. But kind of once you have it, then you have it. So if that were to change at some point, that might be something that I would consider to let go of, because I just don't see that much traffic there. A lot of people are still using social media or looking for the Etsy itself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Shayna, what do you think it takes financially to be able to start a business like this, where you're taking something that you love to do that's a hobby and turning it into a money-making machine?
Yeah, I think it's super important when you first start out that you need to make sure that you budget from your own finances. So you're going to have to pull from your day-to-day finances to do something like this and get it started up. And it actually wasn't until about a year ago that I was able to kind of fully have an independent account where I had enough to maintain and kind of do the things that I need to do.
Yeah.
And for everybody, it's going to be so different. And it's going to depend, too, if you're making a craft, on your resources and what you can find. And like Joann Fabrics closed down, and that was huge for me. I mean, my costs went up significantly, and thank goodness I was pretty well established and had my own kind of like rainy day fund, so to speak.
Yeah.
I had that cushion without having to really increase my prices very much. So when you're thinking about a 50% increase in materials after Joann's closed, that was pretty substantial. So I think it's just going to be different for everyone. The other thing is, if you're doing local markets, you're paying vendor fees to do those, and you pay those up front, and sometimes you pay them a year in advance. So then you're talking about, okay, do I have $100 to sign up for this? And if I miss that window, I'm going to be waitlisted, and I probably won't get into that.
Right.
So, and displays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I would think for startup of extra things, when I was first getting started, it was probably close to like a $750 startup for extras, which I would consider to be the vendor fees, where you don't really know how you're going to do. You're kind of going in blind. Your tables, your display racks, stuff like that, tags, price tags,
Oh, yeah.
everything like that. All those little things, bags to put your items in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like a shopping bag for your customers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't think about all that stuff.
Right.
And does that price tag, does that include your cost of materials too, or is that a completely separate, I guess, like funding thought that you're thinking of?
It does include, so really in the end, when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking about how much dollar point I put into my item when I price it, because the reality is that if you make homemade goods, you're doing some type of a craft, you're not getting paid hourly what your craft is worth. You're just not.
Right.
It's not going to happen. So I take into consideration when I'm making the product how much material goes in. I take a little bit into how much time I put in, but not a ton. And then I do set goals for myself at my events as well too. So how many hours I'm at the events, how expensive the event was for me to sign up for. That's all things that I make my own personal goals.
Yeah.
Every time I go, and then I evaluate if I don't hit those goals, what I do the following year. Maybe that's not the right place for me to be.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So, like you said, you're paying maybe like a $100 vendor fee to be somewhere. Obviously, you have other costs of materials, but you want to make at least $100, so you've covered your cost of actually being there, and then some, right?
Yeah, so I actually set myself pretty high goals. And actually, back when I first started making a run at this and the world opened back up, I felt like people were very eager to spend money. They wanted to support their communities. They wanted to be out because they finally could be.
That's how we feel in the winter around here.
Yeah, for sure. So if we're talking about even 2022 and what my goals would have looked like, I pay $100. I'm going to would have automatically times that entry fee by 10 for myself. So that would have been $1,000. That's what I want to cover, is $1,000 at that show.
Perfect.
Which is pretty high. I think a lot of people don't set that high goal for themselves. With the way that the world has changed, that I've actually changed that down to, I would say 500. So I cut that number in half. And then I do take how many hours I'm there, and I times that by $50 an hour. It used to be $100 an hour, but let's say I'm there for 6 hours. Then I would say, okay, my goal for this show is going to be $300. That's currently what I'm doing. And then my next goal, like let's say it's $100 to get into that show. That's $500. So $500 would be my low goal. $600 would be my high goal.
Gotcha.
And I kind of tier myself based on that.
Okay.
It's been hard. This last year's been really hard to even hit those minimum goals, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, we're just not seeing... I'm seeing more people buy online, which is wonderful and ultimately what I want. But locally, it's been a little tough to kind of go out there and just feel like, gosh, I used to have these amazing shows, and now I'm walking home with maybe a third of what I usually have made in the last few years. So that's tough too. But again, thank goodness I'm established enough. I have enough of a cushion. I'm not just like running on pennies to kind of get to the next place I'm trying to go.
Right.
And I do look at it more now as it's all a process, and I'm just building this up, and I'm building up the communication and the networking with people, and I love meeting people. I love interacting with young people that I will actually crochet at shows now because it's slow enough, and I'll get a crowd of like kids standing around me watching me do this and thinking it's so cool.
Yeah.
That's like priceless.
Yeah.
You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. And I bet you're kind of inspiring some younger people too to get into it.
Yeah, for sure. And the really cool thing is I have a lot of young men that come up and are really, really interested, which typically we look at this, and that was something we struggled with when we were looking for that logo, is this whole like grandma's crochet, and it's all what grandma does, trying to make this, it's a modern hobby, and everybody can do it. And I think it's It was a great craft for people to pick up for mental health reasons and everything else. So I just love it. I love that it's everyone that comes up, all ages, it doesn't matter. And they tell me what they've been doing and what they should do to try. And I have to remind them. I'm like, well, I started when I was 12, I'm in my 30s now.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference.
Yeah.
But it will come. It'll just take time and just stick with it.
That's awesome. Well, that's super cool. You're inspiring the next generation then. So awesome. I did want to ask you a couple nitty-gritty questions, Shayna, about, like how many hours a week are you crocheting, you think, to make all of these awesome goodies?
So I probably crochet 2 to 4 hours a night.
Okay.
That's kind of my free time. Back a couple of years ago, that would have been easily 4 to 6. I mean, it was pretty, because demand
Was
huge.
It
was there.
Yeah.
It's a craft you have to focus on.
Yeah.
You can't, you got to count your stitches. You got to do stuff. So that's why I really can't work on it till my kids are in bed.
Okay.
It's hard to do that when I'm constantly getting up, doing stuff, doing other things. And then I can also gauge how much time something takes me to more accurately.
Yeah.
When I have uninterrupted time to do it.
Yeah. I was going to be my next question. What does like the average product take you to put together? And I know that probably varies a lot based on what you're making.
Right. It all really depends. So the big thing that I'm doing right now, I'm starting to get into upcycled clothing. I have this poncho on today that has
model it for us.
Yeah.
So cool.
All of the clothes that I get are thrifted. So trying to reuse, recycle.
Love that.
The ponchos definitely take the most time. They are open on the side, but you can see there's a lot of material there.
Yep.
So this is probably easily, I would say, at least a 6-hour project. So I'd never get it done in one day.
Right.
It does take a couple days to work at it. And that doesn't include my time of thrifting the items too, which has been, sourcing has been kind of a new thing I've started to do, trying to manage my time, taking the chance of buying something like that. And I've got a bin of stuff just sitting that I haven't made yet, but I'm like, I think this has potential. So feeling out something new and what the market wants with something new as well.
Yeah.
But then I also have like little keychains, and those are, I charge $5 for those. And the great thing about that is that's considered my scrap material. So I have a little bit of leftover yarn. I can't make much with it, but I could make a little keychain. So other than buying the chain for it, which is pretty minimal.
Yeah.
And then my time on that is usually like 15 to 20 minutes, depending on what it is.
Okay.
So you definitely make better money on your small items.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because you can make more of them in an hour. And then actually your pay per hour, if you look at it, is not as bad as something big. But I love making the big stuff.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun.
It's probably, you can get more creative, I bet, with the bigger things.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Okay, this is a big question. How do you figure out how to price all of your items? That's got to be...
It's hard.
Okay.
It's hard, yeah. So what I have heard from other vendors that are not crochet vendors, but I make friends along the way at these shows and stuff like that, is I price myself pretty good. Now, if you ask my husband, he will always say, you're underpriced. You're selling yourself short. Which is very sweet.
Very, very sweet.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rob.
Yeah.
Good job, Rob.
But I try to be competitive in the market, and really even in the sense of like when you walk in and buy something at the store, you're still, for something that's, small, like the mermaid that you showed, I mean, you're probably still going to pay for that stuffed animal around $15-ish anyway.
Oh, easily,
so
yeah.
For me to add on $5-6 to that price point, I think people are okay with. So I do try. Now, again, that doesn't make that profit that big. So let's talk about that mermaid. That mermaid took me probably, that's about an hour and a half project. So the normal price on that is $23. So that's not bad. That's actually one of my higher turnaround priced items.
Okay.
The item that I'm wearing and what I paid in material on that, I would say probably $4 to $5. It also depends on the color of the yarn. Some of the yarn's more expensive because it's a fun color. Certain colors are easier to find, certain colors aren't. So that's a big deal too. These do come in big skeins, so I can make a lot of different things in that size from those, which is helpful as well.
Yeah.
But then you have something like what I'm wearing, and we're talking about $12 in yarn material, and then the cost of the item, which sometimes I pay $5, and sometimes if it's great, I'll pay almost $20. It just really depends on if I think it's, and usually those things I pay $20 on are stuff that sells instantly.
Yeah.
I know they're going to. But I sell like these ponchos for $65. So let's say conservatively I paid $20 in material, $45, but then you're taking 6 hours of time. Right. So again, you're not making a ton of money. It's more about the process, the creativity and everything else. So there's, the small stuff always makes a little bit better money for me, which people are comfortable spending $10. You know, they walk into the booth and they have a few kids. It's like, okay, pick something out.
Yeah.
But it's got to be like $10. So I try to make a lot of $5 to $15 items.
Yeah.
Because that usually can be for anybody.
Let's see what Shayna brought for us today. It's like show and tell.
Okay, it is.
I'm just excited to see this big pickle.
We'll start with the smallest. So this is just a little fruit keychain.
That's adorable.
Okay, so grapefruit.
Love it.
Yep. So that little guy is going to be $5, and he's going to be made off of all kind of leftover material.
Okay.
Which is nice.
Yeah, that's super savvy of you.
And that's an easy price point for especially people walking in with their kids. They're just like, yep, okay, pick a $5 key.
Yeah.
Leggy Frogs. He's been around a long time.
He's so cute.
He's very popular because you can just kind of do whatever you want with him. He is 10. He's probably about a 40-minute, half-hour, 40-minute. He's pretty easy to make, so that's a pretty good turnaround too. And I want to say a skein of yarn that's roughly $10 to $15 based on color would make about 8 of him. Oh, chickens, because everyone in Michigan has chickens. Right?
And I want chickens so bad. It's such a goal of mine. And I will totally buy one of your chickens if I do get some.
So chickens are also a super easy make. They're a little more complex because I do have to sew on that crest in the end, so that takes a couple more minutes. But this is only about a 20-minute project and it's 10. So again, a really good price point.
Yeah.
I can make a lot, I would say 14 or 15 from a skein of yarn for those. And I do primarily buy this colored yarn for chickens. There's not much more you can do with that. So you have to think about that too.
Sure.
Where this little guy, I can make this colored turtles, mermaids. There's a lot of options.
Yep.
This is one of my favorites. I call these guys novelty cows.
Okay.
Because they're not just cows, right? So he's a red, white, and blue cow, and he has a hot dog purse.
I was just going to say, is that a hot dog?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I love my novelty cows. I do charge $30 for these.
Okay.
They are a labor of love. Because you're sewing on the ears, the nose, the arms, and the little purse. Oh. And the giant pickle.
The giant pickle. That's awesome.
So, yeah, he's an emotional support pickle, which is obviously something that we've heard out in the world, right?
Yes.
And people get. I do make him in a lot of different sizes, so I do have a keychain version. I have a small one that's like 6 inches. But every once in a while, I'm like, we need a giant pickle pillow size.
Yes.
This guy... So I have him at 45. A few years ago, he probably would have been 55-ish. But again, people, it's just harder.
Yeah.
So I still love to make him. I do still make some money off of him. He would be about a full skein of yarn. So he's $11 in yarn. His eyes are special. These are not normal eyes. So
Okay.
you pay someone that hand makes these eyes. I don't do that because I don't have the machine.
Right.
But there are people out there that actually make felt eyes, which is
Wow.
really fun. So those are probably about $1. And then the stuffing in him, which we didn't even mention, but polyfill stuffing is so expensive.
Is it?
It's just crazy. Yeah. So a 10-pound box of polyfill, which will last you a very long time, but is about $60. So again, it's just that initial price point of,
Yeah.
okay, like I know this is going to last a long time.
Right.
And then it is hard to break down that material to say how much stuff is because everything's so different
Yeah.
with how full it is. So,
Wow.
but yeah. Yeah.
So cool. And it's such a wide variety of
Right.
little critters there. What has it been like selling your products on Etsy versus what you've done through your website, social media, and then craft shows that you go to?
Yeah. Etsy is a slow burn.
Okay.
It's a very slow process. It is, which I kind of knew getting in, and a lot of people will talk if I'm members of online forums and stuff like that, that you really struggle to break into the world of Etsy because people really rely on reviews. And
Sure.
you cannot put a review on a shop unless you've made a purchase from that shop. So I have locally tons of support, tons of followers, tons of people that would leave a review if they could, but on that they can't.
That's
So it's
so
a little
annoying.
bit different, right? Where
Yeah.
like Facebook, you can leave a review and you don't have to make a purchase.
Right.
So Etsy is a labor of love in the fact that you just got to stick it out. You got to keep showing up. You got to keep posting stuff.
Yeah.
And then the fees, which you have to think about. So my items are all more expensive on Etsy.
Because you're paying Etsy a
Yeah.
percentage?
Yeah, and it's roughly 30%. I mean, it's substantial. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
30%?
Yeah. So I'm going to post this poncho on Etsy at $85. And I think I walk away, I want to say it's like $62, $64. So, I mean, that's a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
So that's challenging too, because I know my product is worth that value, but now you're also asking people to pay that to something, again, they're not seeing in person. Now, the great thing is that I only put out good quality stuff. I've literally had people order something and I look at it and there's something I don't like and I just make a new one, send a new picture like, hey, you know what? I just decided I didn't like this because I will not ship out anything that I think is not as good as it could be.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I've gotten some really great reviews and that's definitely helped. But it is slow. I mean, I've been on there 10 months and I average only about a sale a month right now, but that's pretty standard. I feel like for the price point that I have to price things at. People are willing to take a chance on something that's $10, $15.
Yeah.
But a lot of this stuff, and the stuff that sells are the novelty cows.
Yeah.
Because you don't see those a lot,
Exactly.
right? Stuff like that, where otherwise they can probably find this stuff locally
Right.
or somewhere closer to home.
I don't know if they're going to find a big support dill pickle, though.
That's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's pretty unique.
Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, Etsy, that puts it in a whole new mindset for me because I like to purchase stuff on Etsy all the time. And sometimes you do question the prices a little bit and you're like, why is this so expensive? But I get it. I mean, 30%, that's a lot for you guys.
Yeah.
But you're still going to keep sticking it out, you said. It's worth it to you to try to break into that.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm going to have a little bit more luck and success with the clothing, again, because it's so unique. I mean, the bummer is that anything outside of the poncho is a set size. So you're going to have somebody that loves something, but it's not the right size sweatshirt for them. I can't make it again because I can't necessarily find it again. So
Yeah.
that makes it a little trickier. But I have sold a few of my upcycled pieces that way. And they definitely get the most traction. So they're getting the likes, and my page is getting followed because of that. And that's all a stepping stone, too, that will only help me with exposure. Because that's the other thing we didn't even talk about. You can pay even more money to have yourself advertised.
In Etsy?
In Etsy.
Oh, that makes sense, because I feel like sometimes the same businesses will like fall to the top when you're in a search.
Right.
thing.
Yeah. So it's calling boosting. If someone clicks on your boosted listing from an ad, clicks and purchases within 30 days, so it's not even an instant thing.
Right.
30 days, it's going to take whatever percentage that you've set. And you can set that at, for eBay, you can set it at 3%, you can set it at 50%. It depends on how much you want to, how quick do you want to push something. I believe Etsy is one single percentage, and I think it's around like 10, 12%, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mathing there too.
It is.
I don't know if I'd be good at that. So
yeah.
hats off to you. That's
And
awesome.
that's how you learn too. Sometimes I've made sales that I'm like, oh, like that's what I walked away with after this. I'm like, okay, I need to go in. I need to adjust these prices a little bit, because a $20 profit on something that took me 6-7 hours to make.
Yeah.
That's not great.
No, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's actually a good segue into my next question for you. You've been doing this officially since 2021, so we'll call it, 5 years? What has been your overall take home with that, do you think? Have you sat down and calculated everything that you've made in these last 5 years?
My best year was 2 or 3 years ago, and I think I grossed just over 10,000, I want to say.
Wow.
Now, that being said, I killed myself that year. I mean, I was crazy. I was insane. Any free time I had, I was making stuff. I was really pushing it. The economy was better. This was before I was on Etsy, so I was selling through just good faith. I mean, people reaching out to me and believing that I was a real person, and that, and I could send them a square invoice and everything like that. That was my best year. I would say on average, I'm probably grossing close to like 6,000 or 7,000
a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not much, but there are people out there that do 8 hours a day of stuff, and I don't. So if I'm doing about half the time, and it's put a little extra money in our pockets, and at times it's come in clutch to, okay, this is an expense that came up, and okay, I got a show this weekend, and that's where the money went, is to that extra expense.
Yeah.
So definitely nothing to kind of like turn your nose up at. I mean, it all adds up. It definitely all adds up.
Especially these days. So
Yeah.
good for you. Sure. That is amazing. Wow. So cool. I wanted to ask you too, this obviously is a fun thing for you to do, I'm sure most of the time, but have you ever throughout these years had not so fun moments, scary moments even, where it kind of just made you feel like you wanted to give up, or has everything, just been wonderful?
Yeah. No, definitely scary moments. I don't think anyone can have a small business or start a business without scary moments. I just think that you have to understand that there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be judgment, there's just different things. I'd say the hardest thing for me is when I've put in a lot of time into a show that I think is just going to be so great. I got into a show this last fall that I had been waitlisted for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
I wanted into this show so badly. It was a little bit more expensive for an entry fee, and I bombed. Oh. It was horrible. I had not had a show with such low numbers in years. Oh. And it was devastating. It was it was kind of like, everyone has told me for years that this is a great show and that I'll do so good. And I did acknowledge that the whole show was a little slower.
Okay.
Your best friend as a small business is fellow small business people. So when I go to these vendor shows, I am constantly talking to the people around me. I want to know how long they've been doing this, what their best shows are, what their worst shows are. I want to know all that. So I'm not afraid to talk to people. I think it's a great free resource that you should definitely use. And the other crazy thing about this specific show is that you have to sign up for the following year at the end, and you have to pay.
Oh, no.
And I knew...
So you're in it again.
I took the chance, because if I said no, I'm going to get to the bottom of the wait list again. And sometimes we will see with these vendor shows waves. We will see a really good year and then a bad year, and then the next year will be really good. And that's actually a pretty common theme. Now, this show that I didn't do good at was very well ran, had amazing volunteers, helpful for people unloading and helping you get your stuff out.
Wow. Well, I hope it goes good this year for
Thank you.
since it sounds like you're in it. So
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that would be really frustrating and scary. I don't blame you there. Speaking of your shows, I have noticed in your social posts that one of your daughters has actually caught the entrepreneurial bug. Tell me a little bit about that. Charlotte, right?
Yeah, Charlotte. She is 8 years old, and she has been begging me to learn to crochet for years. And I told her, like, when she was 5 or 6, I'm like, you can't really even count, so that's not going to work out very well, right? And she just could not understand. So what we started doing a year ago, a little less than a year ago, is the fleece tie blankets. Which I don't know about you, but like I made those when I was younger.
Oh, heck yeah.
Or had them or saw them, and they were big and at a lot of events for a long time.
Yep.
But I could get the pre-made together cut kits kind of for relatively cheap at Joann. So we're working through old inventory now, and probably when it's done, it'll probably be done.
Okay.
But then I could cut the strips and she could tie, and I think it's been just so good for her. I think it's another testament to that mental health stuff where it's just, you need to give them something to do, and just, she has a very busy mind, and she's my kid that's always talking, always has something to say. So it's really good for her to have like a project and then have something to show. And she's a good little shopper too, so that money goes pretty quick. So it gets turned right around into the community. She goes out to the shows and she spends her money. Yeah, it's been great, and it's super fun experience. We just did a show. It wasn't very many hours. She did great. Again, I did not do good at all. I paid way too much for the space, but the time with her was worth it, and she had a great day.
We're going to segue into the little more fast-paced part of the show. It's called our Money Minute. I don't know if you've watched any of the episodes, but I'm just going to ask you a bunch of fun, quick-hitting questions, and you answer as quickly and as honestly as you can. So when you are ready, I am ready.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. What was the first crocheted item that you ever made?
The first thing I ever made when I was a kid was this giant, crazy colored Afghan, hot pink, teal, and it came out very lopsided.
What is your favorite item to make? Like, you could make them all day long, every day.
I really like to make the mermaids.
Really?
I really do. I think they're just a super fun, quick project, and then the color combinations are just endless.
Shayna, what is one item that you make that looks really simple, but it's actually your biggest profit maker?
Probably the keychains, just because they are, like I said, they're scrap yarn. So really outside of the actual chains, which you can buy 100 of them for $6 on Amazon. It's very low, and then also my time as well.
Yeah. Do your hands ever get tired?
So this is probably the number one question I get asked.
Really? Okay.
Shows. The answer to that is my hands do not, but it's my shoulders.
Do you make Rob give you shoulder massages then?
We have one of those like gun things.
Okay. What is the oddest place that you've ever crocheted something?
Oh, gosh. Well, I take my kids camping, and when they're playing at the beach, sometimes I'm sitting on the beach crocheting in 95-degree heat. People look at me like I am insane.
Have you ever underpriced something and then immediately regretted it because it just took off?
Yeah, I definitely have had some items that at my first show out, maybe I've priced them a little low, and I'm like, okay, that. But then I've also increased the price, and then they'll sit. So it's kind of like a funny thing where there's certain groups of people when you get shows that are interested in different stuff. Like I sold out of the mermaids at that show I just was at that was slow. I didn't have any more at the show with me because I thought, I'm not going to sell. I'll take 3. That's enough.
Yeah.
I don't need to take any more. But didn't expect that. And then maybe at the next show, it'll be the chickens. So it just kind of changes.
What is the most expensive piece that you have ever sold?
I have a giant rainbow. I actually have her right now. I did not bring her with me, but I have one made up right now. It stands about 2 feet tall. It's a unicorn.
Oh, wow.
She's black, and she's got like a retro-y mushroom patch on her chest, and she's got bright rainbow curly hair like the mermaid.
Oh.
And I sold one of those. I did a show at a brewery.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
I love that, though.
I love those type of shows.
Yeah.
I love those type of
Hey,
shows.
you get people drinking and they'll buy more.
There you go.
I am one of those people.
And I think I sold that for $65. Now, the Peep bunnies, the giant bunnies, were my biggest. There were 3 of those, and it was over like $300 for those.
Okay.
Those items were definitely. But for like my non-commissioned, just I make it out of a whim and see if it'll sell. 65 is about the cap that I've hit.
Craft show or online sales, which is better for money making?
Craft show is probably where I do 80%. Local shows is where I do about 80% of my overall business, I would say.
Okay.
The other thing to consider about that is, again, it's a networking opportunity. So I've picked up a lot of clientele and people that follow me because they saw me at a craft show.
Yeah.
So though that is kind of independent, and Rob would make the argument that he wishes I didn't do the shows because it is a very big commitment and it takes up your whole Saturday. Sometimes it's 2 days. But that's definitely where people need to be able to see your stuff in person.
They do.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And you. You're selling you're selling yourself as well, in the sense that they want to make sure you're a real person. And being able to see me do the craft in person is very clear that I do make all these things, where people will kind of be like, well, is this, do you make this?
Yeah.
So it's, definitely the shows are the best for me.
Okay. What was your I made it moment?
I think it was probably, I don't know if it was a I made it moment, but it was a I can do this moment. And that was when I made those peeps.
I thought that was going to be your answer.
Small ones, and made like fish. I mean, it was crazy. And I think I had, 15 different color options in them, and people were custom ordering stuff, and I would sit there and just make peeps all night long. Okay, I'm just going to make these. And I think that was at least the moment that I was like, people like my stuff.
Last Money Minute question for you. If you had to double your income tomorrow, what would you do differently?
Clone myself? No. Probably just try to manage my time a little bit better, set like some time management goals, I would say, because again, it's so hard doing the mom thing and trying to manage all that. And that's what it is I just don't have the time to create the way that I want to necessarily max out my creation. But again, it's hard because I don't want to burn myself out too.
Yeah. You need a life.
Yeah, you need a life. And if I force myself to make some of the smaller things that are not as creative, that are quicker flips, that would help too. But again, I just like making the big stuff. So I'm stubborn.
This is a part where I like to have you guys share the love a little bit. What is someone or something that has made all the difference in this journey for you, do you think, that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to a fellow creator. Obviously, my husband's been very supportive, but he doesn't get credit today. So there's a company out there, a local business called Fern and Company, and she makes earrings. She does a wonderful job. Her name's Nicole, and her wife Rita have been doing shows for years and years and years. And she was a huge help to me in determining when I was first starting out with shows. I would ask her, like, have you done this one? Because I think she's probably done 99% of any of the shows in the greater, like, northern Michigan area. She even travels as well, too. So she's been so wonderful to be like, yeah, this is a good one, or you need to put this one on your list, or don't bother. And I'm not afraid to ask her, and she's not afraid to help me out and give advice. And her stuff's very unique and so cool. She'll do, like, little logo prints of, like, your school. So I'll do, like, teacher appreciation gifts with my kid's school logo on it and stuff like that. She has really cute themed stuff for different holidays. And I have super sensitive ears, and she uses good quality stuff. So I can actually wear her product, and it doesn't irritate my ears.
Okay.
So nothing but good things to say about Fern and Company.
I'll have to check them out.
Yeah.
Got Mother's Day gifts coming up, so.
For sure.
Cool. Okay. Shayna, if this stopped bringing in money tomorrow, do you think you'd keep doing it?
I think to an extent I definitely would. Yeah, I would find another way to make things and donate them, or do something that, I do, maybe not to the extent that I do it now, but I would certainly continue, because, again, it's a part of me, and it's something that I have that I can create and then look at and be like, I made that.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't instantly get dirty, or, like.
Yep. Like doing the dishes.
Yeah.
Yep. I get that. What's been more valuable to you, making the money or proving to yourself that you could do this? Definitely
proving to myself. Yeah. I think that it's a huge confidence boost when you hear people say, I'm at a show and someone runs up and goes, I have this from you from last year, or this is so great, or this is so creative, or I'll have people mention, like, your stuff is really nice. Like, yours is some of the nicest stuff we've seen, which, again, to myself, I'm my own hardest critic, and I'm always like, oh, that could be better. This could be better. But definitely just the feeling I get from those moments is totally worth it.
Yeah. Awesome. If someone is listening right now and they are sitting on a hobby that they think could make money, what is your blunt advice for them? Like, should they do it? Should they not? And what would you say to them? I think 100% that they should give it a go. I think that they need to be prepared more so for the negative than the positive. So they need to be prepared for rejection. They need to be prepared for negative feedback, or people making comments about that's too much money, or this doesn't look good. Not saying that that's going to happen, but you have to have the right personality for something like that. And I grew up in the horse show community, so for years, every weekend, I was judged. I mean, that's literally how I would perform, and I was judged by a judge. It wasn't based on a point system. So I'm very used to rejection, criticism, all of these things. So I think I have the personality to be able to kind of stomach it. And there are times where I feel really down about something, and that's totally normal. And those great moments will far outweigh those limited moments you have. But you have to be prepared for the rejection up front and be okay and know that you'll get through it. And it won't always be like this. Yeah. Very, very, very good advice. Yeah. And my last question for you, what is next for you?
The next, I think right now I've never really done a ton of summer shows. I've done more fall shows, and summer shows are tricky because if it's too nice, everyone's out. They're on the water, they're on the boat. They're not coming to shows. And then if it's not nice, they're always outside. So then you're dealing with the elements if it's raining and stuff like that. I would like to do more summer shows, and I'm in a position now where I don't work in the outside of the home. I don't work in the summertime, so I have a little bit more leeway to try to do some more of those. Otherwise, I just want to continue to make the clothing and really ramp up my inventory for that and continue to kind of perfect that part of my craft, because I consider myself to be very new with that and finding the trends and the desires and just having fun with it.
All right. Sounds like a great plan. I'm rooting for you. It's awesome.
Thank you.
You have adorable little products. I'm so excited to give this mermaid away to my daughter. And yeah, if anybody is watching this and they've seen your little critters and they want to learn more how they can purchase some, how do they buy from you?
Yeah, so I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. You can search Yarn Over Hook.
Okay.
My handle is Get Yo Goods.
Love that.
So, yeah, that was a big thing too, kind
So
of the
fun.
slogan that we came up for. So those would probably be the primary ways. If you are people that like to go and support local craft shows, the biggest craft shows of the year, there's an event out at Red Dresser. Red Dresser does an event in September out at the fairgrounds. That's a great place to go. And Traverse City West has a really great show too. So if you've never gone to shows like that, I highly recommend looking into those in the fall. It's just so much fun to walk around and see how creative everyone is.
I used to go to craft shows with my mom and my grandma when I was little. And I think I was like maybe 5, 4, like little. And I remember them, and it was so much fun. So now that I have a little one, maybe that'll be something fun that we can do.
For sure. Yeah, I used to go with my mom when I was young. We didn't, she didn't sell anything. But the craziest thing I discovered with that is one of my old coworkers, her mom was into craft stuff, and I got to thinking about it, and I'm like, gosh, has she done this a long time? Like, she's like, oh yeah, when I was little, I went with my mom and I made those bead pet keychains.
Oh, I remember those.
Okay, so we make those. My daughter actually started making those too.
Yeah.
And my coworker Ashley was like, I would sell them. And I was like, I collected those.
Yeah.
So I guarantee that I had bought them from her.
Oh, that's so
20
cool.
plus years ago, which is crazy, 25 years ago. So it's a cool community, and there's always a way that everything comes back around. So super fun. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Thank you for bringing the adorable little critters. If you liked what you heard today, give us a follow, give us a like. You can find us on anywhere that you like to listen or watch your podcast. So search Bleep the Budget. Thanks so much.